Hi, we are live in the Buzz Center at the 2012 Bio International Convention. My name is Abigail Hirsch. I'm the Director of Event Communications here at Bio, and I'm joined by Louise Perkins, PhD, Chief Scientific Officer for the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation. So we just had a few questions for you all to hear and join us in this conversation. First, could you tell us a little bit about the MMRS and your key initiatives?
Sure. The Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation was established in 1998 by Kathy Giusti. She's a patient with the disease, and she and her identical twin sister Karen founded the foundation shortly after her diagnosis. Now, flash forward to today, Kathy's doing fine. She's in a very fortunate medical position. Unfortunately, many patients are not. The disease is still viewed as being uniformly fatal, and the organization's mission is to accelerate the development of treatments for patients with multiple myeloma. Some of the key initiatives since the inception of the organization have been to build the community, not only of patients, not only of funded researchers, but also bringing in clinicians into the business and bringing in industry into the business. We've done that since the beginning of the organization in 1998 and continue to do that today. We've also established a consortium of leading medical experts in the field, and this has brought together, starting from 4, now 16 leading centers in North America, focused on two main activities: facilitating clinical trials, phase 1 and phase 2 trials, and collecting the necessary tissue to really understand what's going wrong in the disease. So those two activities, building the community and the consortium, building a tissue bank to be able to study the disease, led us to one of our more recent key initiatives, which is to comprehensively understand the myeloma tumor genome. So that was a 5-year program costing us $12 million, and led most recently to the publication in Nature of the first whole genome sequencing of multiple myeloma. We compared the whole genome and whole exome sequences of 38 patients to their very own normal tissue and began to understand some new things about the disease. Building on all of that, we now find ourselves, starting in 2010 and now in 2012, undertaking an initiative led by us, a longitudinal clinical study, an observational study of 1,000 newly diagnosed multiple myeloma patients, bringing to bear on that longitudinal profiling of those patients from the time of their diagnosis and at relapse, so that we can understand what is different when patients do progress, and hopefully then be able to create interventions in that situation, but also building in comprehensive, and I do mean comprehensive, state-of-the-art genomic profiling. Sequencing the RNA, sequencing the DNA, understanding what actually is in those tumor cells that makes them tick, hopefully being able to develop interventions.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so speaking of all of that, and you mentioned industry, can you tell us a little bit about the importance of the MMRS relationship in terms of partnering with both the biotech and the pharma industry?
Sure. I mean, our partnerships with industry are really deep. We value our industry partners very highly. We understand that the academic centers are important to be able to make the discoveries and to be able to further those discoveries in clinical research, but industry is a very critical part of the glue to be able to hold all of that together. We've been able to involve industry in a couple of different ways through some of our programs. One of the key ones is the Biotech Investment Award Program, which offers to biotech companies milestone-based funding on the order of $1 million in a reviewed process that helps to bring those companies into the area of multiple myeloma. To be fair, it's not a grant. They have to put their own skin in the game to be able to do this and to do this effectively. But we've had some real key successes in this area with companies like Intellikine as one example, which was recently acquired by Millennium. Other ways we work with our pharma partners in this space are to facilitate the way we can get this longitudinal study called COMPASS completed. In this study, we're going to be collecting this genomic data on 1,000 patients. And it doesn't do just to collect the data, right? It has to be used. So in order to get that done, and in order to fund the study, we established a pre-competitive consortium of industry partners, bringing them together to look at the results kind of hot off the presses, and then to be able to make use of those results with a 6-month exclusivity period. Then the results are shared with the greater research community to leverage the next level of findings. What's really unique about this particular program is that in COMPASS, all of the intellectual property is going to be placed in the public domain. So we want to facilitate the next generation of discoveries, not delay them. So building a pre-competitive consortium, bringing industry into that, making sure that they have the benefit of exclusivity to get their next targets out, really important.
Okay, and just to wrap up our conversation, just very briefly, what do you see as the future of the industry?
I think pharma in general is facing some really tough challenges, but is extremely well positioned to adapt to those challenges. I'm beginning to hear some of that. Pharma is really beginning to embrace, and biotech companies have already embraced, that bringing in leading nonprofits and patient voices into the process is going to help them to actually understand how to work with their customers, how to develop products for their customers, and to provide long-term solutions. So I see ultimately there's going to be a period of change, and I think meetings like this bio meeting where people can come together and exchange ideas and build those relationships further are really critical in that process.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Louise, especially for joining us. And to hear more, follow the conversation at I Am Biotech.